In today's video, we're doing all new Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs. Let's try to create some bells. At Dollar Tree, you're going to need to pick up some of their metal bowls. They come in 3 different sizes, so I went ahead and got 2 of each of the sizes. You're also going to need to pick up some shower rings. Now, to start this project, on 3 of my bowls, I added E6000 and hot glue. And then I'm gonna place the matching bowl on top until it dries. I'm also going to be adding on my shower rings. Now, you could try to measure these out, but I have found that if I just snap them in half, they usually just break down the middle. So I'm gonna take 3 of the shower rings and just snap them in half. And then I'll add them to the top of the bowls with some hot glue. I wanted to spray paint these before I moved on with this project. I'm gonna be using a metallic gold spray paint to spray paint both sides of the metal bowls. I did have one of the shower rings that popped off, no big deal. I'm just gonna spray paint that and I'll glue it on later. Now the next step here is to make these look more like antique bells. I think the best way to do that is to add rub and buff. So I got out 3 different rub and buff colors that I had. Wasn't really sure what I was gonna go with, but using my foam brush, I started by applying one of the colors to the bells. Now, when you're doing this, don't feel like you have to completely cover it. Honestly, you want that existing gold to show through. So just add a little bit of that rub and buff color. I did this with all 3 of the colors, kind of mixing and matching. If I felt like I needed more rub and buff, I would add that on. From here, you want to let this completely dry. The next step, we needed to add some black to the bottom to create the look of bells. So I just used some black acrylic paint. I think the easiest way to do this is just to hold your bowl and you're gonna use a paintbrush, draw a circle, and then you're gonna draw a straight line down. You're gonna repeat this and make 4 on each of the bells. And I'll do this to all the bells. Here's how these turned out. I think they look so adorable, perfect for the holidays. Did you know that Dollar Tree is now carrying large Christmas trees? I was so excited. The ones I got are 3.5 feet. They're pre-lit and they're $10. I picked up 2 for this DIY. So I wanted to put these Christmas trees outside. Do you remember over the summer when I DIY'd these Walmart planters? I used some spackling on the side of them. I also painted them with multiple colors to give a really worn look. And then over the summer, I had some ferns in there. Then I put them out for fall and I put these big maple trees in them. But now we're gonna reuse them again. So I'm gonna take out the filling that was in there from the fall and I'm gonna place in my new trees. Now with the trees, I'm gonna put some rocks to really kind of hold those trees in place. The other thing I'm gonna add to my planters are some fillings. So I just used the same packaging material that I had from the fall. I'm gonna place that back in and on top, I'm gonna add some moss. Next, I'm gonna spread out the branches on each of the trees. Now I wanted it to have kind of a flocked look, so I'm gonna be using snow spray paint. This is really easy to do. You're just going to spray it on your trees. Now with this, you can use a lot if you want it to be more of a white tree, or you can use less if you just want it to have a little bit on it. From there, I'm going to add on some ornaments. These are Dollar Tree ornaments, and I find the best way to add them is just hot glue them onto my branches. Now I'll place these on either side of my front door with my Christmas mat, and you can plug these in so they light up at night. Did you know that you can make ornaments out of mason jar lids? All you're going to need is that top piece to your mason jar. Take out the center and you can make so many different ornaments with this. So you're going to need Dollar Tree florals for this. Dollar Tree has out several Christmas florals right now that you could use. I'm gonna be using the ones with the berries. You're gonna take a piece of twine, tie it on the inside of your mason jar in a double knot, and then create a loop so that you have a hanger for your ornament. I find it best to cut off the berry stems before I place them onto my ornament, just because it's a little bit smaller. I'm gonna hot glue them around the outside. You wanna make sure that you completely cover around your ornament, and if you need to add any additional hot glue, if you have things sticking out, you can do that. You can also pick up ribbon at Dollar Tree. This one is available this year. I'm going to tie it, cut off the bottom, and glue it to the top. Here's how this ornament looks on my tree. Let's put together some easy Christmas wall art. So start with 2 large canvases and you're going to spray paint them with a deep green color. When you do this, make sure that you get the spray paint along the edges as well as the top. Now I thought I was gonna be able to do this in just 2 coats. It actually took me 3 coats. You wanna make sure you have a nice smooth finish across the top of your canvas. Once it's completely dry, you're going to add on some ribbon. The first ribbon I'm using is a red ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree. So you're gonna start with your longer piece and you're going to cut it off and hot glue it to the back. Now with your other piece, I'm going to wrap it around the back and then pull it up so I had enough that I could tie a bow with. And to do this bow, I'm just going to wrap both of the pieces around the ribbon that I already put in. I'll tie it in a knot and then I'll create a bow. Fluff your bow up, make it the size that you want, and then you can cut off the excess on the ends. I'm gonna repeat these steps with a silver ribbon. These are great for hanging on your wall or putting on your mantle for the holiday season. You guys know I love recreating high-end items, and I found this ornament on Pottery Barn's site and wanted to try to recreate it. So I'm gonna be using one of the larger Dollar Tree ornaments for this DIY. The other item you're gonna need to pick up at Dollar Tree is this red tubing. They typically have it out in their craft section. So I'm gonna start by wrapping the tubing around my ornament with hot glue. Now the tip I can give you when you're wrapping it is you wanna make sure you use enough hot glue so that there's no spaces in between your ornament. You're going to do this until you get your entire ornament wrapped completely. Next, we're going to spray paint it. So in the inspiration piece, there was 2 different colors. It had kind of like a different metallic look. So I'm gonna be using 2 spray paints on this ornament. I'm gonna be using a darker metallic spray paint and more of a gold metallic spray paint. So I'll start by putting my first spray paint on. I'm also going to be spray painting the topper. Next, I'll add on that lighter gold color. If you feel like you added too much gold, you can always go back in and add additional color. Once it's dry, put the topper back on, and I used a natural string because I felt like that went more with this ornament, and here's how it looks on my tree. If you like to give candy for Christmas, but you're wanting a fun idea that doesn't take long at all, let me show you what you need to pick up. So you're going to need 2 of these candy canes that are out this time of year. You're also going to need 3 boxes of candy, whatever you're wanting to gift. So you're gonna start with the 2 candy canes at the bottom, and you're going to hot glue one of your boxes of candy to those 2 items. We're gonna be creating a sleigh, and to do that, we need the candy canes on the bottom. Next, I'm going to tape the other boxes to the box that I just put down. And I like to face the lettering the same direction. I don't really know if that matters, but I like to do that. Then take one of your favorite Dollar Tree ribbons. You're gonna wrap it underneath, tie it in a bow. I'm gonna add this cute little tag that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I think it was in their miniature ornament section. Look all around because a lot of times the ornaments are great for adding to gifts. I think this is so cute and my kids are gonna love it. what should you put on your table this holiday season? Let me give you an idea. So to start, you're either going to need a long wood board, or from Dollar Tree, you can get 6 of these Dollar Tree boards. Now my inspo for this centerpiece is one that I saw on Pottery Barn's website. I wanted to show you how you could recreate this for so much less. So take those 6 boards, turn it on the back, add E6000 to each of the sides, place them together. And I'm going to add some tape to kind of hold everything in place until it has time to dry. Now on the front, I'm gonna hot glue moss onto these boards. Once I have that done, I'm going to take it outside. Using snow, I'm going to spray paint that onto my moss. I'll let that dry. You don't have to let it dry too long. And then I'll take it back inside. And next I'm going to add some white bottle brush trees, but you could use any color because at Dollar Tree, they have a wide variety of bottle brush trees. I'm going to start with the larger ones in the middle. I'll hot glue those in place. And then I'll sporadically place the smaller bottle brush trees onto my board. And then I'll finish it off with some smaller ones. Then I'm going to take it back outside and spray paint it again with that same snow color. Now you could really do a lot of snow here or just add a little bit. And then I'll place it on my table. I'll add in a few additional ornaments to finish it off. For this DIY, you're gonna need clear ornaments. I'm gonna be using smaller ornaments, and when I'm doing this technique, I like to do an extra just in case I mess up. So I'm gonna actually be doing 4, but I probably only need 3. First, we're gonna fill our ornaments with the color we want them to be inside. You can use any color. I'm gonna be using a blue, and I went with a Dollar Tree paint pour paint. The reason I did that was because this paint is a little bit more runny. It's gonna do a great job of coating the inside of your ornament. So place the paint inside, move it around so that it's completely covered. Then you're going to figure out a way to place it upside down and let it dry. Now, if for some reason too much of the paint comes out, you can always do an additional coat, because I will say a lot of this paint will run out. Now you wanna let this dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step. We're gonna be adding a marble element to the outside. Now you guys have seen me do this DIY before on several different projects, but I've never done it on ornaments. So I'm going to take a tub of water, any tub will work, and you can use any spray paint you like, any color. I went with a gold because I wanted it to be more Christmas colors, and I'm going to do a couple of sprays on the top of the water. Then what you're going to do is you're gonna take your ornament and dip it into the water. Whatever the spray paint looks like on the water is going to be what transfers to your ornament. So if you want it to be thinner or a line, just go with that. Now, once you pull your ornament out of the water, you may want to add additional paint. Just keep dipping it into the water till you're happy with it. And you're going to repeat these steps, clearing your water and spraying more of the spray paint for each of your ornaments. Now for the top pieces of these ornaments, I used a little bit of a copper rub and buff, and I'll place that on with a foam brush. Once your ornaments are completely dry, you can put the tops onto these ornaments. Now, after I put the tops on, I realized that the top pieces didn't really match my marble, so I did go in with another rub and buff color that I felt like matched a little bit better. Now, how are we going to hang these ornaments? Well, I thought it would be really cool to create a box structure. I love to scroll high-end sites and see how I can recreate items for less. When I was on Anthropologie's site, I saw this box and I thought, this is so cool. I love the way they're displaying the ornaments. I figured, let's try to recreate it with Dollar Tree items. So you're gonna need 3 of the Dollar Tree wood boxes. I'm gonna start by gluing these together with a combination of E6000 and hot glue. You want to put all of your boxes together and make sure that they stand up straight. Next, I'm going to stain this piece with a medium tone stain. You can use any color you like. You could also paint this if you wanted. So I'm gonna brush on the stain with a foam brush, and I'm gonna remove off the excess with a paper towel. Now I did buy some additional wood pieces off of Amazon. I will link them for you down below. I'm gonna be using 8 of these wood applique pieces, so I need to stain these the same color as the box. So I'll do it the same way, put it on with a foam brush and wipe it off with a paper towel. Now, after I stain anything, before I glue it together, I like to let it sit and dry completely. Once it's dry, you can come back, and I'm gonna be using E6000 in the corners, and then I'll just place the applique on top. Let this dry until the E6000 is completely set. Now with my ornaments, I did want to hang these from this wood box. So to do that, I just put on a little bit of twine through the top of the ornament. I'm gonna tie them so I only have about 1 inch from the knot to the top of the ornament. And I'm gonna repeat this for the other 2 ornaments. I'll cut off the excess string. I'll place some hot glue on the top of the knot and place it in the very center of the box. And I'll repeat these steps for the other 2 ornaments. Now I know it's not an exact dupe, but I think it looks gorgeous, especially sitting out with all of my blue decor. For this next craft, you're going to need 2 tapered candles and a fine tip gold paint pen. We're gonna try to create some stars onto these tapered candles. I saw these candles on Anthropologie's website and really liked the way they looked. So I'm gonna start with a gold paint pen, and to make those stars, I'm just going to use a cross pattern on the candle. Now, this was a little bit harder to do than I thought because the wax got on my paint pen, so the paint wasn't coming out great. So every time I used it, I would have to shake the pen and kind of dab it onto my table. But I was able to figure out how to get the paint out, and I just created larger stars and smaller stars on my candles. I repeated these steps on my second candle. Now you do want to let this dry, and you could use any candle holders. I found these 2 candle holders from Dollar Tree that I'm going to use. I'll place them inside, and they're the perfect holiday candles. You're going to need to go to the party section at Dollar Tree and pick up some of their plasticware. So you want to get bowls in several different sizes. You're also going to need some of the smaller cups and a champagne flute. Essentially what we want are 3 bowls. We need a larger one, a medium one, and a smaller one. And we're gonna create a Christmas tree. So start at the bottom with your larger bowl. Then you're gonna use E6000 on the top and place one of the small cups in between your bowls. Then take your medium bowl and set it on top of that cup, adding in more E6000. Then you're going to add another cup on top of your medium bowl with some E6000 and finish it off with your smaller bowl up top. Now to create a stem, you're going to add a champagne flute to the bottom. So just add a little bit of E6000 to that, and make sure when you put this one on that it's in the center so that everything will stand up nicely. Let this dry overnight, and this is an easy 5-minute DIY you can do. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is Christmas. I wanted to show you how you could put together a hostess gift with items from the thrift store. And honestly, a lot of these items are better than you can pick up at a retail store. So when I was at the thrift store, I first spotted this tray with this cute little bow on it. Bows are very trendy right now. I also found this cool canister that I thought would be perfect for tea. I also spotted these mushroom salt and pepper shakers, which are very in right now. So those are gonna be the main items for my hostess gift, but I also went searching for something to put my gift in. And you know, baskets. You can find those all the time at the thrift store. So I found a basket that would fit everything in really nicely. They also have a lot of tea towels. I wanted something that was a little Christmassy, but something you could use throughout the year. When you buy thrifted items, it's really important to clean them very well. So all of these items I cleaned really well with dish soap, scrubbed them really well, and then dried them. I'm going to start with the basket, and then I'm gonna place the tea towel in, kind of draping it over the edge. Then I like to put my larger items at the back. So I'm going to put my tray in the back. With my vintage container, I bought some tea bags that I'm gonna put inside. I also picked up some cool spices and clove and cinnamon, and I'll place those into the basket. I also picked up a local raw honey that I'm gonna add in. I'll also put in some pink Himalayan salt that's gonna go perfect with my salt and pepper shakers. Now, when you put your salt and pepper shakers inside, if they sit down too low, you can put something to hold them up, a little plastic piece or some kind of riser. I love doing this in gift baskets so that you can really see everything that's in the basket. From here, you're just going to move things around, add in any finishing touches, and then to make it look a little bit more festive for the holidays, I'm gonna be adding in some pine cones and some greenery sprigs. I think this is the perfect gift to show curated items that you selected for somebody that they're not gonna be able to find anywhere else. Let's make a holiday wall art. So you're going to need this frame from Dollar Tree, or really any Dollar Tree frame. I love that they're making light wood frames now. You're also going to need some of their peel and stick wallpaper. I went with this lighter wood. So I'm gonna start by taking the contents out of the frame. And I'm gonna trace around the wood wallpaper so it's directly in the middle, because I wanted each of those lines to go down exactly the same distance on both sides. So once I trace around the paper, I'm going to cut it out, and I don't need to stick the peel and stick wallpaper. I'm just gonna put it back into the frame. I did take out that front piece because I didn't need that. Next, you're going to need one of these Dollar Tree snowflakes. Now, when I placed the snowflake down, it was a little too big for my frame. So to fix this, I just cut the end pieces off of 4 of my corners. I just used my wire cutters and they broke off pretty easily. Now, I did have one of the pieces break off, but it's okay because I'm gonna be hot gluing it down to my frame. Next, I used hot glue to put the snowflake in the center of my frame. My inspo for this project was this Pottery Barn wall art. So to recreate this, I'm gonna be using my macrame cord. So I cut off a long enough piece, and I'm gonna be starting at the end of a snowflake. I found the middle of my macrame cord and I folded it in half. Then I put a little bit of hot glue on the end piece and pressed down the macrame so that I had 2 cord pieces on either side. Now, as I'm doing this, I want my macrame cord to follow, and I don't wanna have to cut any pieces. So I'm trying to keep it where I can fold everything together. So I did the same by folding up a piece and hot gluing it down on both sides of the snowflake. Then I connected them together, hot glued and pressed down the macrame, and I repeated this until I got to the center of my snowflake. I left the excess there. I continued on with this process on each of the snowflake stems, starting at the top, folding the macrame in half, hot gluing it down until I reach the base of the snowflake. Next, I'm going to cut off the ends of my macrame. So use your sharpest pair of scissors because you don't want that macrame to fray. I started doing with the wrong pair, then I had to switch. So you're going to cut off the ends of the macrame. Now to cover the center, I'm gonna start by creating a circle, and then I'm gonna hot glue that in the middle. And then I'm just going to loop it around, hot gluing it in place until I cover all of the outside macrame pieces. I'll cut it off and hot glue it in place. That's all there is to this wall art. Let me know what you think of this neutral wall art piece. If you're intimidated to put a garland on your holiday mantle, let me show you how I did it really affordably. One of my tips is to layer your garlands. So I started off with some basic garlands that I had, and I'm gonna place 2 across my fireplace. Depending on how big your fireplace is, you may only need 1. Then I like to use a garland that kind of hangs down the front. You can see the one I have, it kind of hangs down a little bit. That is a garland I will link for you down below. It's one of my favorites, and I'm just going to place that along the front. I also like to use command hooks to kind of hold everything in place. A lot of times the garland will sit up there, but the command hooks just kind of secure everything in place. So you want to fluff your branches and make sure you're happy with your greenery before you add anything additional in. Now, if I'm doing a garland that's a little bit more natural, I like to add in pine cones. I feel like it gives in that great texture. So you can either just add in pine cones or you can add in pine cones on a pick. Another thing I found this year is this gold garland. I picked this up at Walmart, and I'm gonna string this across. Now, I didn't really like how the string was sticking out, so I did have to kind of hide that a little bit. But you could just use some basic ornaments on your garland as well. Now, what should you put in the center of your garland? I picked up 2 packs of bells from Dollar Tree. And I'm gonna start by rub and buffing these bells. What that's going to do is it's going to create that really cool vintage look. Now, my recommendation is to use 2 different colors of gold. You could even use in black on rub and buff on these bells, and you're just going to paint it all over your bells. Do 1 coat, let that dry, and then add on another coat. Now, to string these up, I'm gonna string 3 bells onto a long piece of twine, and I'll tie that off. Then I'm gonna add in 2 more bells on either side, tie that, and I'll continue to add 2 bells and tying it until I have all my bells on my string. I'm gonna finish it off with a little bit of burlap ribbon, and then all you have to do is attach this to the center of your mantle. I think this is a great inexpensive option to have gold bells on your mantle. If you have anybody on your list that wants money, but you want to give it in a fun way, last year I showed you how you could make a money wreath. This was really cute. I just wrapped up some $1 bills, put some ribbon around them, and I used a paper clip to attach them to a piece of cardboard that I had cut out. I added a bow. Really cute idea, but this year I wanted to give you another idea. If you're giving money this year, we're gonna be making a money tree. You're going to need a foam cone, and depending on how much money you want to put on here is going to depend on how big your foam cone is. I ended up putting about $35 on my money tree. This is really easy to do. You're gonna need your foam cone, $1 bills, and you're also going to need push pins, like the push pins you use whenever you're sewing. So I'm gonna take my $1 bill, I'm gonna fold it in half. Starting at the bottom, I'm going to use 1 push pin to place it in the center. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing. Fold it over, make sure you fold them the same way so they all look the same, and then I'm gonna use a push pin to place it in the center. But when I do that, I'm also going to place it in the one next to it. It's going to hold down the edge of the one that I just put in. So I'll do a row all around the base of my cone. Next, I'm going to go up a layer and I'm going to alternate. So in between where I just put my 2 $1 bills, I'll place a new piece. Go around adding them the same way. And I'm gonna continue these steps all the way up until I get to the top. Now, when I did get to the top, I wrapped it around a little bit and made sure I put a push pin on either side so that you couldn't see that top piece to the tree. Now, how could you dress this up? Well, one of the things I did was I found this plastic bowl I had in my craft room that was from Dollar Tree, and I turned it upside down, hot glued that to the base of my tree to make a base for the tree. But you could really use so many things. And then for my topper, I just used some Christmas sprigs and placed those down into the foam cone. I love the way it turned out, and it's such a fun money gift. Let's talk using borax to make ornaments. Now, I've done this before. In years past, I've made borax ornaments and they're kind of tricky to make. You never really know how much borax to use, how much water to use. I've also put borax on pumpkins, but I wanted to try to create some glass ornaments using borax. Again, this was kind of a tricky project to do, but I'm gonna show you what I did. You're going to need a designated pot for this. I have a pot at my house that literally says borax on the side because I only use this for borax crafting. So you're going to use 4 cups of water for 8 tablespoons of borax. So I put 12 cups of water into my pot. And what you're going to do is you're going to heat it up right before it starts to boil. Then you're going to add in your borax. I ended up adding in 24 tablespoons. And then you're just going to mix that together until the borax is dissolved. You don't need to boil it, it just needs to be heated up. So that part went pretty good, but here comes the tricky part. So I first thought for these ornaments that I needed some kind of string wrapped around my ornaments in order to make the borax stick to the ornaments. So I hot glued string around my ornaments. You want to attach your ornaments to the board so that they can hang down in the water. So I'm just going to use some string to attach them on there. I also, any strings that are hanging down, you want to tape those up. Well, once I did that, I realized when I put them into hot water, guess what happened? I melted the string off of the glass ornament. So that was a really bad idea. So I don't recommend doing that unless you let your water cool down a little bit. It would probably work. So that failed for me. Now, the other problem that I ran into with these ornaments was they were not going down into the water. They weren't heavy enough to go into the water. So I thought, okay, what am I gonna do here? So I went and got some rocks from my craft room. I added rocks and I thought, this is perfect. They are now going to stay down into the water. Well, that worked for one of them. The other one was too heavy and that one kind of fell off of the top piece. So at this point, I didn't really know what to do. So I just kind of left them in the water. Now with borax, you want to allow crystallization to happen and that takes at least 24 hours. So I just left them in there and I have to tell you, they ended up staying in the water where they were needing to and they crystallized. So after about 24 hours, I took them out, I removed the rocks from the inside, and I don't know, they looked pretty cool. I added the tops back on, and I added a little bit of red ribbon. You'll have to let me know what they look like. Do they look perfect? No, but they're kind of cool. When I was shopping at the thrift store, I found this house that is the exact same house that they have on Anthropologie's website, but I got it for the thrifted price. These are great to set out for the holidays. All you need to do is add some lights. These are some fairy lights. I'll place those inside and they look so pretty illuminated at night. Who doesn't love getting edible gifts? This next item, you're going to need to preheat your oven at 200 degrees. And this is so easy to do. You could do this with your kids. So take out a cookie sheet and line it with foil. Next, you're going to use any pretzels and just place them onto your cookie sheet. Then you're going to need some blocks of chocolate. I recommend getting the Hershey's milk chocolate and then a white chocolate brand. Next, you're going to place your chocolate bars down so that they're alternating. So put a milk chocolate down and then a white chocolate, just alternating so you don't have the same bars next to each other. Once your oven's ready, you're going to place it into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. You're wanting your chocolate to melt. Once your chocolate's melted, you're going to take it out and place it on your counter. Using a toothpick, you're going to draw lines in the chocolate. This is gonna create a fun pattern where the white chocolate moves into the milk chocolate and vice versa. You can also add any sort of topping. So I added on some Christmas sprinkles, but you could also add on M&Ms or any candy you like. Once you're done doing this, you're gonna place it in your freezer for about 15 minutes to let it dry. Take it out, and to serve it, all you have to do is break it apart. To make this into a gift, I want you to pick up a fun candy jar. Now you can get these anywhere. You can get them at Dollar Tree. I went to the thrift store because I think they have some of the most beautiful candy jars, very inexpensive. You want to wash these really well before you use them. You're gonna place the candy into these jars. You want to top it, make it fun. One way you can do that is by creating a bow with beads. So you're going to need a set of beads. I'm going with these red ones and some wire. And you're going to lace on your beads onto the wire. Then you're going to divide your beads up. And you're going to cross it over to create a loop to your bead, twisting it, and then cross it over the other way, creating a loop. If you want the ends of your bow to stick up, you're just going to move the wire and it moves really easily. You can add an additional wire to your bow so that you can place it around the top of your candy jar. You could also just add a ribbon. That's what I did on the other one, was just took one of my Dollar Tree ribbons and tied it to the top. I think these make great gifts and everybody loves an edible gift. My new favorite holiday hack that I recently found are these pop-up trees. You can set up your tree in just seconds. These pre-decorated trees have a stand and they go together really quickly. The trees are pre-decorated with ornaments and ribbon. If you're wanting an easy tree to set up at home or maybe at your office, or if you're traveling over the holidays, you could bring this because it's really compact and it's so easy to put up. I have one in red and gold. I'd love to know which one you like better. But there's also so many different color options available. I'll link it for you down below. If you have a bunch of buttons hanging around your house or in your craft room, let me show you how you can create an ornament with them. So you're going to need a pipe cleaner. You just want to take that pipe cleaner and fold it over about an inch on the end. Next, you can add on your buttons. Now, this can be really strategic using a pattern, or you could put just all different colors and sizes on there. I had a button pack that had white, red, and green, so I put all the buttons out and I did a little pattern with mine, but really anything goes. So just start lacing your buttons onto your pipe cleaner. And then when you think you have enough, just see if they'll connect at the top. If you need to add some more buttons, do that as well. Once you get to the end, you're just going to take it and twist it together because you have this nice pipe cleaner. I also made a little loop at the top and twisted that. And then to finish it off, you can add a ribbon to it or any kind of twine. This would be a great craft to do with your kids or grandkids. If you like the look of understated holiday decor, I have a great option for you. The thrift store is a great place to find holiday decor, and when I was shopping there, I found these vases and they reminded me of ornaments. Don't they look like they're in the shape of ornaments? I thought, what if I spray paint these and put them out as holiday decor? So I used some of my fun metallic spray paints. I used the silver and I also used the gold to spray paint these. Let me know what you think. I feel like they look great sitting out for decor. One of my favorite and easiest crafts that I like to do around the holidays is to make cone trees. You guys have seen me put together cone trees in years past. This year we're gonna do it a little bit different. So I wanted to make 2 cone trees, but I only had 1 piece of poster board. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to do it, but I made it work. I find the easiest way to make a cone tree is to simply start twisting it until you get the shape you want. It's really not hard to do. You just kind of start twisting up that paper. Now the difference with your cone is going to be how big your base is. So if you want a tighter base, you're just going to need to make it a little bit more tighter. If you want it to be wider at the bottom, just let out a little bit of the paper. Once you're happy with the way it looks, and at the top, you want that connected. So make it as small as possible at the top. You don't want an opening. Add a little bit of hot glue, hold that in place. Then cut off the excess. Hot glue the edge and hold that in place. I'm gonna wait to cut off the bottom until I make my second tree. I did know that I wanted my second tree to be a little bit bigger, so I just kept that in mind. And I first rolled it up and I realized that my base was a little too big compared to the tree that I just made. So no big deal, just re-roll it until it's tighter. Again, add that hot glue in, cut off the excess, and then hot glue it one more time, wrap it up. From here, you can cut your bases. You just want to try to cut a straight line if possible, and then you'll know whenever you set it up. If it wobbles around, just keep cutting until it stands up straight. Now, what are we gonna do with these trees? I wanted to add kind of the look of like a winter kind of white speckled look. You could really achieve this with a lot of products. I had some spackling in my craft room, so I decided just to use that. You wanna put on gloves, and then you're just going to put the spackling on your entire tree. Really, the hardest part is just covering the entire tree. Once your tree is completely covered, then you can create textures. You can scrunch to create a texture, but you just want it to look like snow has just fallen on these cones. Repeat that with both of your trees. You could paint this, but by the time it dried, I really liked the way it looked. It was matte and looked really realistic. So I kept it without painting it, and here's how they turned out. What do you do with those lampshades that maybe you have from old light fixtures or you find at the thrift store? You can turn them into bells. So you're gonna need two things. You're gonna need the lampshade. You're also going to need this Dollar Tree ornament. Now, this was the one that I found that worked. I tried a bunch of different ones, but this Dollar Tree ornament was the best. So I'm gonna start by removing the bottom piece to this ornament. So I cut it off, and then I'm just going to tie it in place so it only has 3 ornaments long. And then I wanted to add the tassel to the end. So I took the tassel and I hot glued it to the bottom of the 3rd ornament. When I hang these up, you're going to be able to see the bottom wood piece. So there was a letter on there. So I sanded that off with some heavy grit sandpaper. Next, to attach them to those glass lampshades, you're going to add a little bit of E6000 on the top of the ornament. Then you're just going to string it through the lampshade. Now, this just needs time to dry, so you're going to hang it up and let it dry completely. Repeat this for your 2nd lampshade. Now you have 2 bells that were so easy to recreate, and you can reuse items that you might already have on hand. One of our most popular gifts that we made last year were these shower steamers. If you're not familiar with shower steamers, they're little bath fizzies that smell really good that you can put on the floor of your shower, and they make your whole shower smell amazing. Those were very popular, but I wanted to kind of make something similar. So this year, we're gonna be making some bath bombs. So let me show you my recipe. You're gonna need any container to put your bath bomb supplies in. Start with adding 1 cup of baking soda to your container. You need a 1/2 cup of cornstarch, a 1/2 cup of citric acid, and I will link to all these supplies that I'm showing you down in the description box below. So if you're looking for any of these items, go down there and I will have the link for you. 1/4 cup of Epsom salt, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, and then as much essential oils as you want. I used about 10 drops. Now the next step is you're gonna add in water. Once you do that, you're gonna notice that the ingredients start to fizz up. You want to just kind of mix it together because that water is really gonna help to bond your items together. You can use any mold you want. I had a silicone mold that I used for craft projects. I think I've used it to make candles before, so I just wanted to use what I had. So I'm going to take the mixture and place it down into the silicone molds. You wanna pack it down pretty compact so that when you pop them out, they're going to stick together. Let these sit at least overnight. You don't have to bake them or anything like that, just let them sit out. And then the next day you can pop them out of these silicone molds and they're pretty much ready to go. I have to show you how you can wrap these up because really the packaging is half the present. So I found these metal containers at Dollar Tree. You can use these. They also have a lot of really pretty boxes. So just look around and see what you can find. I'm gonna start by putting some Christmas paper at the bottom. You could also use that crinkly paper that they have over in the party section. That works really well. And I'm gonna place the bath bombs in so they're sitting on their side. I'll put the lid down and then I'm just gonna add on a cute little red velvet ribbon. I also added a greenery sprig and an ornament. These were great and these are always such a popular gift. found these bottle brush trees on Anthropologie's site, and it made me think of all of the Dollar Tree brush trees. So at Dollar Tree, I picked up some of these colorful trees in the pink and the gold. With the gold ones, I wanted to have the cute mini ornaments on them, and then with the pink ones, I wanted to add some bows to look very similar to that Anthropologie inspiration pick. So I pulled off all of the mini ornaments on the pink trees, and then I hot glued them to the gold trees. Now with my pink trees having nothing on them, I picked up some red ribbon and I tied little miniature bows. You actually want these to be pretty small. And then for each of my trees, I created several bows. Try to create the bows about the same size, but they don't have to be perfect. Then I just hot glued the bows to my trees. Here's how these Anthropologie inspired trees turned out. Have you considered decorating your bathroom for the holidays? Let me show you a quick hack. You're gonna need two things, ornaments and the metal hangers for your ornaments. You can place these on your shower ring. I'm gonna be using these new ornaments that I just picked up at Dollar Tree. I feel like they're very fancy, very high end, and using a hook, I'll connect them to my shower rings. Let me know, would you try this at your house? Now, if you like a subtle holiday look, you might want to do this next DIY. So you're going to need a Dollar Tree green frame. You're also going to need one of the winter style pictures they have out at Dollar Tree. I went with this black and white canvas. So I disassembled the frame and then I took out the 5x7 piece that came in the frame and I placed it down exactly kind of where I wanted to cut my frame out. I used a box cutter to cut a little bit farther around the edges than I thought I would need. Once I got the piece cut out, I put the glass piece on the frame onto my picture so I could draw around exactly where I wanted to cut out. I traced around it, I cut it out, and then I put it back into the frame without the glass piece. I put on the backing, and this is a quick and easy neutral holiday decor that you could put out. If you have anybody on your list who says, all I want for Christmas is gift cards, but you want to make it a little bit more fun, try doing a gift card tree. So pick up one of Dollar Tree's $1.25 trees. You're going to spread out the branches. Start by tying a bow at the top of your tree. Use any ribbon you have. I use this glitter ribbon from Dollar Tree. And then just cut off the ends. Now you're gonna place all of your gift cards onto your tree. Simply pull them out of the packaging and you're just going to attach them with a clothespin. Now when you add them on, I like to kind of alternate so I don't have similar gift cards next to each other. It's very simple to do, only takes about 5 minutes, and I think it's really cute. What are you supposed to do with those $5 wreaths that they're selling right now at Dollar Tree? Let me show you how to make a centerpiece with this. So you're gonna start with the $5 wreath. I didn't really like the way those berries look, so I cut those off. I also cut the little loop that you could hang it up with. And then using some of Dollar Tree's Christmas picks that they have, I went with these berry ones that they had. I just cut them off and I put them into the wreath because a lot of times they don't make their wreaths full enough. I also had to add in some other greenery pieces because it just was a little sparse. So I'm gonna put those in. Honestly, I just stuck them in. I didn't even have to glue them, and add as many until you're happy with the way it looks. I wanted to recreate this look that I saw on Pottery Barn's website where they had all these really pretty candles in the middle. So from Dollar Tree, I got several glass containers. I even found this set of tea light holders that was a 4 count for $1.25. I sprayed all of the containers with a gold spray paint. I'm gonna place all of the candle holders in the middle of my wreath and then add in some tea lights, and then I also added in some larger white candles. This makes such a great centerpiece and it's pretty easy to put together. Don't throw out all your leftover costume jewelry. Let me show you how you could use it to decorate for the holidays. Now you're going to need costume jewelry. You're also going to need a foam cone. Take your costume jewelry and you're gonna start by disassembling it. You want to cut off all of the clasps, all of the fasteners, so that you just are left with the jewels that are in your costume jewelry. I think for this DIY, it's definitely great to have a variation in colors. Once you get all of your necklaces disassembled, you could also use bracelets or earrings. You're going to start hot gluing these pieces to your foam cone. And there's really no right or wrong way to do this. I started with my larger pieces and then started adding and mixing and matching different colors and hot gluing those on. You are going to have to try to like fill in holes because you don't want to see any white underneath. Now this does take a little bit of time to do, but it's so fun and it's a great way to reuse costume jewelry. You could put this out as part of your holiday decor. Pick up a small dinner plate at Dollar Tree and 3 of these sleigh ornaments. Next, you're going to take off any of the accessories on the ornaments, and you're going to cut off the top hanger piece on all of the ornaments. Now I want to use my 3 ornaments as a base for this plate. To do this, I'm going to use hot glue on the top of the sleighs and place the plate on top. You could also use E6000 as well. I did let this dry completely and then I flipped it over and added in additional hot glue. Then I'm gonna spray it with a black spray paint. You can use this to elevate any of your Christmas decor in your house. If you have anybody on your list that you're going to be getting a book for, maybe consider creating them a personalized bookmark. So to make my bookmark, I wanted it to be very vintage and girly looking. So I found this handmade paper off of Amazon. I will link it for you down below. But I took the paper and I just cut it in half. And then I wanted to put some cardstock on the back. So I had this kind of metallic gold paper that I'm going to place it on. And then I'll cut the metallic gold paper so it's a little bit larger than the white handmade paper. Another thing I ordered on Amazon are these flowers. Now, do you remember in the fall when I added these flowers to pumpkins? I had a few left over and I thought these would be great for making a bookmark. So all you need is Mod Podge. I like to use the matte Mod Podge, and the reason I do that is because the matte Mod Podge is not gonna leave a shine, and when you're making something like this, you really don't want it to be shiny. So if you can find the matte one, go with that one. And you're just gonna use a brush and paint it onto your white piece of paper, and then put down any flowers that you like, and then you're going to do a layer of Mod Podge over the top. Once you do that, you can place it onto your gold paper, and then using hot glue, I'm gonna place the white paper onto my gold paper. I'll put a hole in the top of the gold paper, and then I'll put through some lace ribbon that I had and tie it at the top. This is a perfect addition to any gifted book. Have you tried ornament anchors? It's a way that you can keep your ornaments safe and secure on your tree. This will prevent small kids or pets from knocking off your ornaments, and these will keep them securely in place. Place this through your ornament. Then you're going to pull this over and secure it in place. Then you're going to place it onto your branch. This ornament is not going anywhere. Last year, I created a lot of Christmas decor in the gingerbread style, and I know that was a popular item that I saw on high-end sites like Pottery Barn. This year, I wanted to go to Pottery Barn again and see what inspiration they had. They had some gingerbread houses this year, but they were in more light colors. I really liked the way that looked, and I wanted to show you how to recreate those. So you're going to need some houses for this DIY. You can pick houses up at the thrift store. I found these 2 ceramic ones, or you can go to Dollar Tree and find their smaller houses. So I have a variety here, and I'm going to show you on both of them. And I think you can honestly combine both types of houses. So start by spray painting your houses. Now, like the Pottery Barn houses, I wanted them to be a lighter color, so I decided to go with the color Sand Dollar. I'm going to spray 2 coats on each of the houses. Now, once they're completely dry, you're gonna bring them inside. I got out a variety of paint brushes, and then I'm also going to be using red and green acrylic paint. So put those out on your board, and you kind of wanna use smaller brushes for this, just to make sure that it's nice and detailed. And this is where you wanna be really artistic. Go in with all your colors. Add green to the trees, green to the wreaths. If you see any bows you wanna make red, you could do that. Make a red door. You could also add in trim to any of your houses. And I did this with all of the houses that I picked up, and each and every one looked completely different. It was a lot of fun to make these. And you can put these out in a grouping and they look gorgeous for the holidays, and I think really high end. Do you guys remember when I bought these pears at Dollar Tree? I painted them more of like a brown color. I also got a Dollar Tree clear bowl and I spray painted it white. And these look really great sitting out, but I wanted to dress them up for Christmas. So I'm doing an updated DIY on this previous DIY project. So with my pears, I'm gonna be using the color Greige, which is a very popular color that people use on their walls. And using a brush, I'm just going to paint the bottom of my pears and the sides. Now, before this has a chance to dry, I wanted to add on some glitter. In that glitter pack, there was some silver glitter in there. Just using my hands, I took some of the silver glitter and put it all over the paint. And since it was wet paint, I knew it would stick on there. I covered all of the pears with this silver glitter. I did let them sit and dry overnight. The next day, I wanted to style them back into the white bowl, so I placed them in there, and then I grabbed some of my Dollar Tree Christmas greenery. The first one I tried was this greenery that had these little white berries on them. I pulled them off of the stem and placed them into the bowl, but I felt like it really competed with my pears. It was just too much. So I decided to take that greenery out. I used another Dollar Tree greenery that was a lot more subtle. I just cut off the stems and placed that around the edge. I liked it so much better, but I think these pears are ready for the holidays. The next time you're at Dollar Tree and you're in the glassware section, keep an eye out for these large glass vases. Now they are $5, but they're quite a bit larger. For this next DIY, I picked up some rhinestone stickers off of Amazon. I thought these rhinestone stickers would be perfect to recreate this dupe that I saw on Pottery Barn's website. So I'm gonna peel the rhinestones off of the backing and I'm gonna place them onto the middle of the jar. And then I continue to do this with just staggering the stickers around as I was going. Next, I'm going to spray paint the bottom side of this with the color Sand Dollar. After that dries, I'll flip it over and spray paint the top. This is a great container that you can put out for the holidays. When I saw this tree on Pottery Barn's website, I knew that I could recreate it with Dollar Tree items. You're gonna need a poster board that you can create a cone tree out of. You've seen me create these cone trees before, but this is gonna be a new version. So to do that, you want to wrap up your poster board so that it's small at the top and a little bit larger at the bottom. Once you have the shape you want, just use a little bit of hot glue to finish it off. You can cut off any excess. Then at the bottom, you're just going to trim it so it's as straight as possible. Put your cone up to make sure it's sitting level. Next, I wanted to paint this because on the inspiration piece, it looks kind of like a cream color underneath. So I used a cream color that I had in my craft room, and I'm gonna paint the entire tree. Let that dry, then you're gonna come back in and attempt this next macrame piece. So to do this, you can see that there's like this cross pattern. So I'm gonna start by hot gluing a piece at the top and then hot gluing it at the bottom. And I angled it just slightly. And as I went around the tree, I tried to maintain that same angle. Now you don't have to put it all the way up to the top because remember it had that like wraparound piece on the top of the inspiration piece. So I'm just going to slightly put them on there. I think the key here is to make sure you hot glue at the top and hot glue at the bottom, but not in the middle because you're gonna have to cross your pieces through the middle. Okay, so here's where you're going to do your cross. So you're gonna start at the bottom, and in between two of your macrame pieces, you wanna hot glue another piece of string. And I made these strings a little bit longer than I thought I needed because I wasn't sure how long it was gonna take me to wrap. Then you're just going to do an over-under pattern. So any piece you cross, you wanna go over and under. So you're gonna wrap it around till you get to the top and hot glue it down. Now you're just gonna follow that same pattern. So go to the next set of macrame, hot glue a piece in the middle, and then do the same over-under pattern following that piece that you just put on there. Keep doing the same thing. Now with these pieces you're wrapping up, you wanna make sure that you're keeping them about the same distance as the one you previously put on. And you're gonna do this until you get all the way around. Now, you might have some pieces that come off, just re-glue them down, that's no big deal. Then you're gonna cut off any extra pieces at the bottom. To clean up the bottom, you're going to hot glue a piece to the bottom, wrap it around twice, and hot glue it. This is gonna make a nice, like, finished look on the bottom. We need to do the same thing on the top. So I started at the base of all those strings and wrapped a piece around till I got to the top. Now I wasn't really happy with this because I noticed that it was a little bit bulkier where I had all those strings and then it went thinner. So I just added an additional macrame piece so it looked a little bit more consistent and like it finished it off a little bit better. Now the only other thing that I did was I added in a star at the top from a star that I had in my craft room. I feel like it turned out pretty well and it was honestly easier to make than I thought it was gonna be. If you're gonna be gifting candy, I have the cutest little container that you can put together with Dollar Tree items. You're gonna need to pick up 2 of the Dollar Tree truffle dishes in any color. I went with the blue. You're also going to need to buy some candy. I went with these peppermints and I'm gonna fill up my containers with the peppermint. You're gonna fill up your containers with your preferred candy until it's at the top. Then you're going to carefully put it together and then you're going to tape it with Scotch tape around the edge. You could glue it, but you want somebody to be able to get into this pretty easily. Next, use any ribbon and you're going to tape it around that sealed up area just so you can't see where the 2 containers meet. Then to make it look like a piece of candy, we're gonna wrap it with cellophane. Once we get it wrapped, we're going to use a little bit of twine on either edge and connect it at the edge and tie it off. You can finish this with a personalized tag. Another idea to reuse items is you can use old Christmas cards and cut out the sayings on the front and hot glue those on to be your tags. Do you guys remember the last time I was shopping at Dollar Tree and I found this macrame Santa kit? A lot of times I get these kits and they're honestly a little bit tricky to figure out how to put together. So I thought, let me see if I can put together this macrame Santa. So I opened it up and I looked at the directions, and I have to tell you, these directions did not make any sense to me, but they did have a picture. So I thought, you know what, as long as it has a picture, I think I could figure this out. So I'm gonna show you how I put this together. Is it exactly like the directions? Probably not, but it worked. So you're gonna start with the wood circle and then there's a cardboard piece. You wanna wrap the cardboard piece around that circle and you're going to tape it in place. This is going to be the thing that creates the little brim to your hat. So next what you're going to do is you're going to cut your red twine. I started by figuring out how long I wanted the first piece to be. And it does give you instructions on the loop knot you're going to be using. The cool thing is you use the same loop knot for the beard that you use for the hat, so it's pretty easy to do. So figure out how long you want that first piece and then cut all of your red pieces that exact size. You're just gonna start by looping them onto the hat. I started in the middle and worked my way out to the edge. Now you're not going to have enough pieces to go to the very back, but that's okay because I don't think you really need it. So the next direction says to basically take that and put it onto the wood piece. I did hot glue this in place because I thought this is going to need to stay in place. Now the other thing you're going to be given is a wood bead. You want to take the white twine and tie that around your white bead. This is going to be the string that goes up through your hat. So you want to do this first before you put your hat together. And again, I just hot glued the top half of this wood bead underneath my hat. I strung the white piece through the top, tied that off. Next, I'm going to make my hat. So I gathered up that red twine. I took one of my pieces of red twine, wrapped it around and tied it to the back. You only need one piece of red twine for this. Then you're gonna cut off the excess to your red hat. You can kind of fray the top if you like. Now from there, you're gonna do the beard. That's kind of your final step. Again, measure how long you want your beard pieces to be, and then you're gonna use that same knot to put those onto the wood ring. Now I found that they didn't really give us enough macrame, and I was gonna add some macrame, but I thought, you know what? I wanna show you guys exactly what came in this kit, and I don't really feel like you needed to cover that entire wood bead, but it wasn't really enough to cover it. I guess I could have put my hat down a little bit farther, but I just looped those through there, and then you do want to fray the pieces out to make your beard. You can also cut them so that they go at an angle. Now, I don't know if I followed the directions, but I think it turned out pretty cute. So one of the things that I've been into lately is vintage jewelry. I love hunting for vintage jewelry, looking for it online. I also love looking for it in the thrift stores or at antique stores. And I wanted to gift some vintage jewelry this year. Now this could be something that you buy. It could also be a piece that you have in your personal collection that you want to gift to someone in your family. And I want to show you a way that you could do that and display it so beautifully. From the thrift store, I did find a candle holder, and I thought this would be a perfect dish to put jewelry on. Now it was in a silver finish, and I wanted it to be a little bit more gold. So I'm gonna be using 2 colors of Rub and Buff. I'm gonna use the foam brush to apply them to the back and the front of my candle holder. Now you wanna let this dry completely. Once it's dry, let me show you how you could package this up with one of your vintage pieces that you're gonna be gifting. So start with any box. This is one that I got from Dollar Tree in a gift box set. I also recently picked up these snowballs, and I've been trying to figure out a way to use them, and this is perfect. So I'm going to put snowballs down around my package, and then I'll put my jewelry dish inside. And then with whatever piece you're gifting, if you can just find a pretty box for it, place it into your container. And then put the lid on top. I love the idea of giving these one-of-a-kind gifts. Another thing I noticed on Pottery Barn's website is that they had several miniature trees that they put in just regular baskets, and I thought I could thrift something like that. So I found this basket at a thrift store, and now that Dollar Tree's carrying these larger trees, like this 3.5 foot one that's already pre-lit, I thought, what if I get that? Now to put it in there, I did put a foam piece in first, and then I hot glued the tree into the basket. Now you need some filler at the bottom of your basket, so I used moss. And I also added some pine cones because I felt like that gave it a really natural look. Then I just spread out all the branches on my tree, and this is how it looks in my living room. Now, is the gingerbread trend gonna be back this year? I think it is. I feel like everybody is still loving the gingerbread. I know I like it. One of the items I found at Dollar Tree was this white crock. It was in the Dollar Tree Plus section and it was $5. I'm gonna be using it for this next DIY. Now, to create the perfect gingerbread color, I found this new spray paint, and this is the color that I have been waiting for. You can pick it up at Home Depot. It's by the brand Bear, and it's called New Terracotta. I have been looking for a spray paint that is the perfect terracotta color, and I think this is it. I'll also link it for you down below, but I'm gonna be using this spray paint. I'm gonna do a coat on the bottom. I'll flip it over and do a coat on the top. This spray paint looks like I painted it. It's so good. I hope you guys can find it. After the spray paint is completely dry, I wanted to try to recreate this crock I saw on Pottery Barn's website. Now, if you remember last year, whenever I was trying to recreate the look of gingerbread, I would use white puff paint that you can get at most craft stores. So I'm gonna be doing that same technique with my crock because I feel like it gives you that nice white raised look and it has really concentrated color. Now with gingerbread, you just wanna try to create a pattern, and if you're nervous that you don't know if you can make a certain pattern, try to go with something really easy. That's what I do. So I started by creating swoops along the bottom, and then I'm just gonna keep adding in elements. It doesn't have to be hard. You can add in dots. Another thing I like to do is add in hearts. Those are pretty easy to create, and then just adding in additional lines. Keep looking at it. You can really make it look fancy by just adding dots, but putting them in a triangle. I know it sounds simple, but this doesn't have to be really elaborate. Keep adding elements until you're happy with it. Let it dry overnight, and then you can add in your favorite utensils. If you've been shopping at Dollar Tree recently, you've probably seen these winter hats and thought these would make great stocking stuffers. But if you want to take them up a notch, you need to head over to the craft aisle and look for some of these iron-on decals. These are so cute, and I know, I've been using these all throughout the fall because I really love them, but they are great to just add a little bit something extra to a Dollar Tree item. So I picked up these patches. I'm gonna be using my mini craft iron that I love so much. I will link it for you down below if you're interested in it, but it's perfect for us crafters. You're gonna place the decal on the top, and then you're going to use a little bit of parchment paper on top of the decal, and then turn your iron on and just place it on. This is gonna heat up the glue so it has time to adhere to your hat. Once it's added, let it cool down, and you can add this to any gift or your stocking.